Well, welcome to Guerrilla Discipleship. My name's Kevin Baker. I get to be your host, and I have a special partner with me, a special friend with me today. I'm going to introduce her in just a second. But I am so glad that you're here, and as always, we look forward to advancing the idea that God has called each one of us to be disciple makers, to see the vision of being witnesses for Him in ways that will impact others and make a difference in the kingdom. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I know Emily March. This is Emily March. She's a counselor with Centerpoint Counseling. She's going to talk a little bit more about that. And I know Emily because my wife and I went to see Emily. That's how we got introduced. And so we had been, I don't know how many years we were married before we went to see Emily. Let's say 38 years, something along those lines. I don't remember. And as far as I'm concerned, Emily's a miracle worker, helped us through just trying to figure out how to get out of the ruts that we were in, communicate better, and to heal some things in our relationship. So I'm very grateful for Emily. So Emily, would you introduce yourself a little bit, the way that, as opposed to just my introduction of how I know you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Emily March. I work for Centerpoint Counseling, like he said. We at Centerpoint, we partner with local churches in the state of Maryland and surrounding states. We're kind of branching out of Maryland a little. And in that partnership, all of our offices are placed inside the local churches. So I am blessed to be able to have my office here at Oakdale Church, where Kevin is the senior pastor.
And so I'm going to just, we're going to go on a journey together, but I want to ask Emily some questions that are going to end up, you might say, why do we have this counselor in when we usually talk about discipleship? We'll see if we can make that all connect in. But so Emily, just tell us a little bit. I don't know this part of your story very well. What's your faith story? How did this all work in your life?
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian home. My mother told me a story when I was very young that her parents were unbelievers, but she met Jesus at a young age and walked herself to church every day.
Wow.
Every Sunday. She would walk down to church. They lived in a very small town in northern Ohio. And my father comes from a long history of believers in their family, generations and generations.
Wow.
And so then when they were married, they were part of the church. My father was always the sound director, the sound technician at the local church that we went to, and my mother directed dramas.
Oh my! Wow!
Did all sorts of fun things like that. So they were very involved in the church. So
creative side of things.
Mm-hmm, the creative side of things. So that is what I was born into. And at a very young age, I went to camp. And at camp, I knew that I wanted to dedicate my entire life to Christ and to go into full-time ministry. There were missionaries there from Brazil at the time, and I was just smitten by them. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and that's what I'm going to do. So I think I was 12 at
12 years old, wow. And you're all ready to go to Brazil.
Ready to go to Brazil at the age of 12. In high school, I, of course, tried to look around and see what else I could do. I'm like, well, okay, that might be something, but I was only 12, right? Maybe that wasn't it. And there was absolutely nothing that I could look at or find that compared to serving the Lord in my life.
Wow.
And so that settled it. I went to Bible college and got a bachelor's degree in Bible and intercultural studies. All right.
And then you went to Brazil.
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. That was the first place I went.
Okay. Now, were you a part of a mission sending agency at that point, or you just went on a short-term trip?
No. So I did several short-term trips before I moved to Brazil. But no, after college, I joined a mission sending agency, and then I moved to Brazil to learn Portuguese.
Oh, wow.
That was my first step. The long-term plan was to move to Mozambique, Africa, where they speak Portuguese. And through the year of learning Portuguese, I did a short-term kind of where I was like exploring Mozambique and looking at the teams down there, seeing if there was a team that I could work with. there was a resounding no across the board. Everyone I talked to said, no, we don't need anyone else on our team, which I thought was really strange.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, everybody wants more missionaries on the field. So I was like, all right, I think God's telling me something.
You didn't take that personally? Or did
I 100% took that personally for about a decade.
Oh, wow. All right.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I have come to realize that God had a different plan for me.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to go. He wanted me to learn Portuguese and experience life with just him. Because over there I was single, white, female by myself, living on support that God had brought in. And he was all I had.
So this is in Brazil, you're saying?
Brazil, Mozambique, and Portugal. I was in all three.
All three.
In the year of 2006.
Oh, wow. So let me back this up a little bit. This sense of I want to give all my life to Christ and serve him, it sort of seems like it resulted in, or I'm maybe making an assumption, it resulted in helping other people know him, or you wanted to go serve their needs, both together? How did you see that at the time?
Yeah, it was, I wanted everybody to know about Jesus.
Okay. So you really had this evangelistic heart.
Yes.
I want to help other people know about Jesus. How did you go about, what was the method that you were using?
Well, funny that you should ask. I have, everywhere I went, I was surrounded by people who already loved Jesus. It was very interesting. Down in Brazil, I was with these 4 college girls who were actually studying God's word to be missionaries themselves. They didn't speak English, so it was a great place for me to learn Portuguese. But they knew Jesus, and everybody loved Jesus. And then I went to Mozambique, and everybody I met, they were just praising God everywhere. In the church, we were just in these different churches, and it was a really cool experience. And then in Portugal, and even later on, and we might get to this, later on when I got married, and then my husband and I, we lived in China for 5 years.
Okay.
Everyone I met in China, these women would take me aside and say, oh, by the way, I'm a Christian too.
Wow. So you kept evangelizing people or you kept being sent to people who already knew.
Sent to people who knew. And every time I was in front of people who didn't know, I would freeze. And I wanted to be this great evangelist who would go to the other side of the world and spread the gospel and tell everybody about Jesus and have, hundreds of people convert.
Right.
And that was not my story.
Wow.
I quickly learned that God had chosen me to go and be a disciple maker of people who had already known about Jesus.
So you were helping people we're still talking about Brazil, Mozambique, and Portugal. Mm-hmm. You're primarily, instead of telling people who don't know Jesus about the goodness of God, you're telling people who know Jesus, or you're helping people grow in their faith.
Yeah.
Any particulars about that?
There's actually a story that just came to mind. It's this beautiful girl who I met in Portugal, and I don't remember her name, but we were fast friends when I lived there. And I will never forget what she told me. She pulled me aside one day. She said, you are unlike any American I've ever met. And I went, what does that mean? And she's like, well, I mean, all Americans are Christians, right? And I went, oh, yeah. No, that's not true at all. She's like, well, that's what we think. And I'm like, okay, let's keep talking. And it turned out that she had all sorts of questions about Jesus and about the Bible. And why does the Bible say this? And why do people say this and do other things? And all these different things that she'd experienced in her life. And we just walked through the gospel together. And her faith was really encouraged and kind of turned upside down in a positive way. And she then moved to a different country in Europe and started a Bible study that she told me later on.
Wow.
So it was so cool. And that was something that I was not expecting. Yeah. I didn't think that's why God had taken me there, but it happened.
So I'm probably old enough to be your dad. I don't know how old you are. We don't need to get into that. But as a dad, thinking about my young, just graduated from college daughter who's going by herself, it sounds like. You had a sending agency, but you weren't with a team.
I was by myself.
You went by yourself to Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
How are your parents, how did they feel about that?
They were proud of me. That's what they showed me.
Okay.
I'm imagining they were worried, but my dad's always been very relaxed and said, kind of it is what it is, and whatever's going to happen, God's taking care of it. He's always had a faith that was very relaxed
Awesome.
In that regard.
Yeah.
So
they didn't panic. They were like, okay, proud of you for being willing to go. And
I mean, if you remember, I'd been telling them I was going to do this since I was 12.
That's true.
So it wasn't a surprise.
Yes, but sometimes when it really hits, it's she'll grow out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the reality, did you feel like you had a great amount of support from the sending agency? So that was a good experience in that regard.
Oh yes, 100%.
But you're 22 or 3 or something like that in these places. Mm-hmm. And you don't really have a partner? Am I hearing that right?
That was the step one, was to find a team to work on.
Okay.
And they all said no.
Oh, that was the no. All of the people that you're like, hey, can I be a part of your team? No.
No, and no.
And so,
yeah,
that's an amazing story. You're a courageous girl at that point. I mean, even now. But okay, so you're now given an assignment, but you're doing it by yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're realizing, just making sure I'm hearing this, you're realizing everybody's already Christian that you're working with, but what God is doing is actually deepening their faith through connections with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't see that at the time, but I see that looking back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you totally discouraged at the time?
At the time, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this was a hard thing.
Yeah, I would say the worst 2 months of my life was when I kept getting no's in Mozambique, and I can still say that. It was awful.
Yeah. But you stayed there how long? In all of those countries doing that?
All of 2006.
And then...
So I came back at the end of the year. At
the end of 2006. Mm-hmm. And did you come back because that was a rotation home, or was that I'm done?
That was... I actually learned Portuguese.
Okay.
I was fluent by the end of 2006, which was a long time ago, and I haven't practiced a lot.
But that was the goal, kind of.
That was the goal, and I had finished my goal, and so I came back. And my sending agency actually saw a really great spot for me based on what I had told them about my year, and they put me in the training department of their agency. And then I worked in the training department for the next 3 years, training people how to acclimate to a new culture, how to learn a new language, because I had just done that, and kind of all these different things. And it was so much fun.
Wow.
I loved it.
I want to put a marker right there. I want to come back to this, but I think it's going to be hard for me to say this, and we might need to get into it right now. But one of the things that I think takes people by surprise, just like it took this person in Mozambique or Brazil by surprise that all Americans aren't Christians. Mm-hmm. I think it takes many church-going people by surprise how different the culture is when you're talking to someone who's not churched. Mm-hmm. I don't think years ago that was as big of a divide, but today the folks outside of the church who have never been in church, their view of the world and their culture can be significantly different. I mean, it almost is like doing cross-cultural missions right in our own home.
100%.
Okay. We're going to put a marker there because I want to come back to that since you did training in that. But I want to keep up with your story. So you did training for how long?
3 years.
And that's here in the States?
Yes.
Before they
Kentucky.
go?
Mm-hmm.
In Kentucky? Mm-hmm. Great place. Mm-hmm. And then you're still feeling called to go and evangelize the world?
Yep. And so all the teams that came in to be trained, I was always thinking, could I get on this team? Could I get on that team?
Okay.
God, where are you going to send me? When can I go?
And eventually some team said yes to you.
No.
Oh, okay.
Then God introduced me to Steve, who I am now married to.
Okay. But at the time he was a missionary that you were training?
Nope, we met online.
Met online, okay.
Yep.
And then, so what happened there? How did that?
He had a heart that was surrounding missions as well. He had lived in Honduras the second half of his senior year of high school at an orphanage, which sparked my interest. But God really brought us together. It was a very cool, long story, but eventually we ended up getting married, and then I moved out to live where he was. And a year, we decided, because it was policy for my mission sending agency, that if you get married, you have to stay in the States for the first year of marriage to acclimate to your new spouse, which we thought that made a lot of sense. So
that makes a lot of sense to me.
We stayed in the States for the first year and figured out life a little bit. And then I actually thought about going in to get my master's in counseling at that point. And I applied to the University of, applied to university. I don't have to name it. And they denied me. And as soon as I got the denial letter, I was really excited. Because I was like, oh, this isn't what God wants me to do right now. That might mean I get to go somewhere. Maybe we can go somewhere. And Steve comes home and I tell him that I was denied. And he's like, oh, well, hey, maybe we should apply to overseas. And I'm like, yeah, we should.
Wow.
So he did. So he was a teacher at the time, and he applied to like lots of different countries. And we heard back from Brazil, and I was super excited, but that didn't work out. And then China comes in and says, hey, we want you to work here in this school. And it looked like a great opportunity, so we took it.
We're going to continue talking, but again, I am so appreciative of you being a part of what we're doing here, just being a part of this podcast. Emily's not going anywhere. We're going to keep going, so you'll be able to see this next week. But I wanted to just thank you. I know that we've got some more things to talk about. Thank you for being a part of Guerrilla Discipleship. We'll see you next week. As always, if you have questions, comments, you can email me at kbaker@oakdale.church, or you can make comments here, and we'll try and respond to those as well. Thank you.